Hi, hello, and welcome to the Curmudgeon Corner. I am your host. My name is Austin. Sorry about the mic tap. And those are Karma and Goat. Welcome to the Dogs Rumble Zone. This here is my co-host, Thigh Man.
How's it going? It's Tyler.
Tyler. Welcome to the Curmudgeon Corner, Tyler. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you, Austin? Big gay man.
My brain has been a tornado of rapid thoughts and spiraling depression, but just another day in America.
It is, especially with everything going on. We're just in chaotic times. They just keep on going.
I don't know if I will be able to ever sleep again knowing that Elon is no longer besties with Trump.
Yeah, they had a big rise and fall in less than a year. There are actually high school relationships that have gone on for longer.
I expected them to just be like in a swan boat on the river, paddling down just one foot after another, singing songs, drinking orange juleps.
Mm-hmm.
Mint julep? Orange Julius. Yeah. Orange Julius. Fits with Trump's orange skin theme.
Yeah, but
better.
Trump doesn't drink, so I feel for him they're both like
Orange Julius is just orange juice with, I believe, blended with egg.
Is that? Wait, do you buy those bottles usually, or?
I do not know. I don't know if they really serve.
Never
it
had it.
It
Sounds
delicious,
delicious, to be honest.
Yeah, you have. Mom used to make it for us back in the day.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. Like way back in the day. And then either we got sick or the raw eggs. It was just kind of like, it's a lot of hassle to clean and stuff like that. But
probably a little bit of
remember
both.
Grandma made them for us a couple times.
You know what? They were probably good looking back, but I just do not remember that.
I used to make them in college with my chicken eggs.
Yeah.
I may or may not have offered one to you at that point, but you would have been so stoned that there is no way you have any like core memory of it.
Probably was, yeah. No, I can't remember, but what are the ingredients? You just put eggs, orange juice, blend it?
Yeah, that's it. I think the OG recipe probably includes vodka.
Well, yeah, usually it sounds like you'd probably include alcohol. That's when we said it's a saying. It's like, usually they drank.
You need something to kill whatever bacteria may be living on the thing. I certainly got very bad diarrhea a couple times.
Well, yeah, because this is still like raw eggs. You probably weren't sick. It was probably just super rich.
That, it could be killing who knows what in your stomach. Just like, gut bacteria die off. Or if your chickens are eating some weird stuff, it's going to mess with your stomach.
Yeah.
So,
I get that.
Can't recommend it.
So, what do you think is causing the rift between Donald J. Trump and Elon Musk? My opinion of it is right now that there's just two mans with too big of egos. Musk's business just got shat on after he was basically just running around doing Doge for like the last 4 months, and then it's no longer fun for him anymore.
Musk probably had a meeting with his board of directors or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they probably, I don't know if you can read Elon the Riot Act, but they probably read him as close to the Riot Act as they could, financially speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Saying something along the lines of, "Oh, Mr. Elon, if you continue upon this path, then we will have no choice but to divest. And if we all do it all at the same time, well, my boy, it won't be as easy as buying Twitter."
No, it won't, because I mean, if he screws it up so bad, they probably were just going to eject him from being CEO, saying, "Bro, you were still the leading shareholder. You were one of the founders and runners of this company. But if you don't get your shit together, we will kick your ass to the curb." But I liked your impression a lot better.
It's a lot more fun when you picture some archaic British man that does not spend enough time in Britain as much anymore.
No.
Because he's out and about. He's meandering. He's wandering. He's seeing what this world has to offer now that he's made his fortune.
Yes.
There's time to be spent in Pennsylvania, for example.
I can picture this guy sitting on the long end of like a big mahogany table, kind of sitting around like one side of the room's really bright where the CEO is behind, and then he's sitting like in a darker corner.
Darling,
like the exit.
darling, please, another Shiraz.
Yeah. And then basically he tells Elon all of this as Elon is standing and basking in the light he's good at, but as clouds roll over, this man tells him, you
Elon.
will become a textbook case of toxic business practices.
What are you talking about? I'm not like that guy. I'm more like the guy that makes the good decisions, and I make very good decisions.
I don't know, man. Every market that was a big market for him to sell is not selling anymore.
But I became meme.
I mean, his badge number... Do you know what his badge number was for Doge?
1.
No.
007.
No, but you could probably guess it, to be honest. Think like what a 12-year-old in junior high would guess when he's trying to be edgy.
1337.
No.
Boobless.
6942. 420, sorry. That was his badge.
Super edgy, bro.
I know. It's one of those things, it's like, dude, you're working... doing invite...
Keep talking.
I mean, it's just kind of like, it's just straight up annoying when it's just someone like in a full government position who's just so like 13-year-old Call of Duty edgy humor. And I think that just rubbed Trump the wrong way because Trump was 1980s financial bro humor. I don't know if the two mixed. Wait,
Trump is like the original finance bro.
Yeah. Do you think Elon is more boomer, millennial, or Gen Z?
He's Gen X.
Well, I know he's Gen... Oh, you're right. He's Gen X, but what I meant by that was I feel like he acts more like a Gen Z than he does act like a Gen X or a millennial.
I think Elon knows that if he wants to be relevant in the next 20 years, that he has to spend a good amount of time cozying up to the people that will be adults in 10 years.
Yeah.
One way to do that is to be an edgy meme lord that is anti-establishment while also working for the establishment. Trump, I think, saw the switch of... Or not Trump. Elon, more than anyone, saw the switch of like, oh, you went from being, quote, anti-establishment to the actual establishment, and everyone flipped on him. The liberals were like, fuck this guy, get him out of here. And the conservatives, a lot of them were like, what's this South African, like, autistic weirdo doing out here with my government? I don't trust it. But what is funny is everyone is going, he's from an apartheid country. What does he have to say about race in America?
Well, I did...
Things everyone's coming to terms with.
I don't know if I mentioned this on the last pod, but I thought it was really funny when Trump last week was just like to the South African prime minister or president. No, I think it was prime minister because British. Basically, one of the prime ministers was like, yeah, what about the white genocide you guys are causing? And it just was a lot of like, what?
So what is... Do you know if there's any proof about this white genocide? I've looked online. I don't know how trustworthy any of the sources are because it seems super heavily propagandized.
It's incredibly propagandized. I mean, there are a few political parties in South Africa that, you know, do say some really horrible stuff about like white people and like death, like, you know, death to them.
I've seen the videos.
Yeah. And not great groups of people. They do have a following, but I would kind of compare it to like the same stuff the United States just flipped with like neo-Nazis and all that. Like they have a following. They're dangerous. They do have some political supporters and they have some numbers, but they don't represent the majority of the country. And so with the white genocide, like there is hate crimes in South Africa. Yeah. So like, And South Africa has a high crime rate. But it wouldn't be anything to amount of like a genocide, more like a really bad crime problem. And there are some people that do take violence out, black people specifically, just on white people in South Africa. So it's not taking that away. But on the flip side, there was the entire South African apartheid where it was a lot worse.
And when did that end? Like mid-90s? Mid-80s?
Yeah, early 90s, actually, that's when it ended. Because part of it was the Soviet Union falling. Yeah, actually, let's look that up, because... Let's see. What are you doing back there, Austin?
I am keeping the dogs busy for a minute. Dead air, Tyler, dead air. You're close to the thing.
Dead air. All right, we keep going.
What
All
are
right.
you searching?
All right, it ended in...
No.
Yeah, it ended in the early 90s. I just wanted to be right on that one. I don't know why. I just feel like with such a heavy topic, you can't be entirely wrong about your dates.
Yes. No.
Because I'm an expert in all of these matters.
Of course. That's why you're a podcaster.
But as time goes on, I wonder what this administration just has for us. Like, I'm not even trying to go from like a really... It's all political because it is politics. But it's just like... Do you think in 3 years we're probably going to have like Greenland actually as like one of our territories, or Canada's going to join us? I think not. Well, the only thing that Trump has dropped during this entire time has been the wall. He has decided he's not going to continue building the wall. He did put people on the border, but the wall's not going to get paid for. Mexico didn't pay for it. Unless
Sorry,
he said...
my hands are fishy.
What if he made all Mexican tariffs pay for the wall? God, I'm a fucking genius. I should be on his administration. I think I could be Secretary of Transportation. I think I could do that job. I have no qualifications, but actually a little bit.
None, get fucked. So one of the problems with whatever you said about annexing Greenland, like, is it going to actually happen? Pardon me, I had to get the dogs situated. Bad, unprepared podcaster, man. I apologize. I'm just trying to prove to everyone that I am not AI.
That is... Actually, if you wouldn't have got up in the middle of the podcast with that... No, I guess you're right. It's a random event that... Well, now we're recording this. The AI is going to know. But it didn't know before you did that.
You could almost say, like, lower rent is maybe the way to go. Maybe if we zag while everyone else zigs, it pays off. Because people know that we're real. Real. Las Vegas. See, that was the wrong line. Mm-hmm. But if, say, the Israel-Palestine conflict or the Ukraine-Russian conflict or what's happening between Pakistan and India, we are sort of in a post-colonial direct acquisition world. Mm-hmm. That's why everything major geopolitical wise, in my opinion, like the most interesting stuff is happening covertly. Mm-hmm. It's proxy. Why would you fund a massive war and potentially lose public trust, relations with foreign countries, when you can fund terror groups or cartels or. So I have heard that, say like Mexico and the U.S. are basically right now in the middle of a proxy war with that and China. Yeah, China's funding certain cartels. We're kind of funding other ones. My hair is incredibly poofy today.
My hair is incredibly flat. But at the same time, actually, I could see your point. I mean, we're kind of getting into like the new Cold War 2.0 electric bungalow.
That would be like a cool like hangout spot. It's Boogaloo.
Boogaloo.
Electric Boogaloo. I like the electric bungalow though. What was the first part of that?
Well, to be honest, it's only been like 6 seconds. I can't remember.
That would be a sick bar on the beach though.
Yeah. World War III electric. I think I said bungalow.
Nice.
2.0 electric. Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah. The only thing I can like substantively say to the direct colonial thing is you have to be, if you're a country and a head of state doing anything, you have to be very mindful of how it's going to look on social media and how that can and will be used against you in the court of public appeal.
Yeah, I could end up saying that.
Look at what? Yeah.
I mean, with the court of public appeal, like...
Israel's making it pretty easy.
Social media is incredibly important, and I mean, Trump has played that better than anyone else because he can just send his thoughts directly to the people, which most would argue is probably a bad thing, especially the way he has flip-flopped on so many different things. But do you think it's better just to have a simple post like every other day through like a secretary or through like an intern or some like social media manager? Or is it better just
to you are or what you're doing? So I think your social media, depending on what social media site, should be dictated by a different age person. I've been seeing the Bulgarian official Instagram account come up, and it'll be like some beautiful view, and then the caption or like the text on this the video overlays just says like, you know, Bulgarian flag emoji, views, and a racist blonde. This is life. Like, they're just leaning hard at all these Bulgarian stereotypes that are pretty hilarious and are certainly coming from a 19-year-old intern.
Oh yeah, and they're probably trying to appeal to that too, and it's just like no one was paying attention to them until recently. I mean, back in the day, like people did get away with a lot of stuff on social media.
Oh yeah,
because like very few people were looking at it, and now someone was like, "Hey, did you notice that so and so just posted this?" It makes like the nightly news, and also half of nightly news and like everything is literally just reading off the comment section or posts that people did online. Like when it's really
boomer,
slow night,
it's boomer Instagram.
Yeah,
and we were talking about this last night, so, I mean, I have been seeing comics throwing out the accusations as a non-comic that wishes to do some stand-up, but I live in an area where it's annoyingly challenging to find open mics. I think it's because of the proximity to LA, where all the actual good ones are.
Well, you know, the Wayfair does open mic night once a month.
Exactly, it's once a month. I'd be down to go do it and check it out, but yeah, fuck, what was I saying? Derailed me. It's all your fault.
Well, we were talking about social media.
Oh, comics that are posting kind of like their 10-minute thing, but they're not doing the full 10 minutes. They're just doing the short. Maybe through like Don't Tell. Or some of these other like mid-level to lower level like comic shows. And some of them are super funny. Some of them, especially what they post to social media, is essentially a fake story they've made up that brings together a bunch of the funniest comments in a way that is kind of like plagiarizing your friend's homework.
Yeah.
If you were what I used to do when I was like stuck and cheating on a test and found out like, shit, you know, everyone's got a different version or whatever. You have to just coyly look around at everyone and their tests. And you have to do it very quickly, and you kind of have to be a little spastic. Grow the hair long, it covers the bangs. But yeah, it's interesting to see how much of the desire to generate content is just kind of moving at a fractal, where content generates more content, where people are just kind of like doing their own version of it in their own space. But because different spaces are more or less protected from social media trends, internet stuff, say like the nightly news, that they can get away with, boom.
Yeah.
Comment section galore.
Yeah.
Or Gutfield or some other of these guys that I've seen, where they're basically the comment section's reaction to like the people. It's a reaction comment channel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Well, Gutfield is, I've seen his show so many times before, and
it's kind of funny.
It is. Like, he actually does have some good comedians on occasionally, and they're kind of funny, but his humor is just kind of, I guess I don't like it that much, because it reminds me of like The Soup, if you remember that back in the day.
It's very one note.
Yeah, where you're just like a lot of just this and of course it's Fox News, so they're going to be a little bit more like hit the snowflakes kind of idea going on. I don't know. It's like Republican humor sometimes can be a little complainy, if you get what I mean.
Well, I think a lot of political humor is essentially complainy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pandering to your audience's complaints, fears, etc. Talking about your complaints, fears, etc. And what people are going to do. It's sort of, I don't want to say hacky, because it's people reacting to current events, but there is an element of people just kind of gleaning stuff off of, I don't know if it's social media or what edgier, smarter, younger people are saying, and then they bring it into their act and they bring it into what they're saying. That's kind of the way it's always been. That's why I like to quote people when I can. Comics were doing that forever, though. There's just a new scrutiny to comics because everyone's putting everything up, though.
That's true. And I mean,
Bobby Lee toured his act for how long?
Yeah, to kind of bring it back to with discussing like the new comedians who are coming out for like the open mic night and just kind of throwing like the comments of one-liners. I think that's almost like the attention span of just some of the people today, that everything's just like you're just like kind of going at like a little bit of a snap, ha ha ha.
Well, they know you can put that out as a YouTube short.
Yeah.
This 1 minute bit here
True.
Where you tell this story can be 90 seconds. Mm-hmm. And Instagram just made their shorts a little longer, or their reels a little longer.
Yeah.
So I think you can post up to 5 minutes. And I've seen plenty of comics just take a little bit from their 10-minute set that they've put out, half of it being like crowd work, and the other half that they're posting is something that, just feels clean from the comment section. Mm-hmm. Makes me feel less nervous about getting out there and trying open mics. So, woo.
It's just wild to me that TikTok is literally just like a rolling algorithm. Like, you can't really search things up at all. You can maybe like follow some people, and then outside of that, you're basically just like, it just feeds you everything.
That's why it's so addictive, though.
Yeah, it's like Stumble Upon, like back in the day. Because Reddit, I guess I get the same thing. I just don't even know where I'm going. I'm just kind of scrolling through, but at least I can click what I want.
That is a thing I like about Instagram, and Instagram has more people talking with words. However, it started maybe 9 or 10 months ago. I noticed almost every post was worded the same.
Yeah.
And
the bots?
Everyone's just using AI. Like, real people are using AI prompts. They're going to ChatGPT. They're saying, hey, give me 800 words about my transition through this. That, or a common linguistic pattern emerged out of how to write the most engaging post and do all these other things. But I just noticed a general homogeny of everyone's language and their syntax structure and styles right about 10 months ago.
Where it's just getting like better, but it's also too perfect or like too just clunky. Because a lot of
And
AI
it's
writing
all, like,
feels
to the
clunky.
same. It's all like to the same. Mm-hmm. Yes, clunky, but I would say it's like a teenager that's in AP Lit. Like they're a senior or something, so they've gotten good, and they just write in this very well, like, researched, educated way. And it's, you know, a lot of all the correct grammar, but it's too correct. There's all style, no substance.
Yeah.
A lot of long run-on sentences, but that's, I mean, how I also do things.
I
A
see
lot
what
of
you're coming
complex
from.
compound
Yeah.
sentences, if you want to get nitty-gritty into that.
Yeah, I feel
No
like
use
sometimes
of
they can get like
colloquialisms.
too, you know, like someone who's trying, like a kid who's trying to be too smart and throw in too many big words. I feel AI does that a lot.
AI is a big thesaurus with it, and it uses a lot of the adjectivization without fully understanding the vibe of the word, the energy of the words.
Yeah, I actually took a letter once and just said like, "Hey, can you make this sound like less repetitive?" But then when it did it, it sounded like too thesaurus-y, where it was like every word was like a really unique thing. Like, oh, I have to use the same word, but I can't use it twice. I'm going to choose the next one in this thesaurus.
Yeah.
Yeah, and basically with that, it's just, I don't know, AI has so many good uses, and like, but at the same time, when people use it constantly for commenting or just throwing out work, like, hey, it's kind of nice when you just need to get a quick point across and send it out, but with a bit more structure. But when you're actually trying to put your like face and your front to something, you shouldn't really use AI because it just comes off as like cheap.
It does have a made in China feel to it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it will be, so that'll be part of the problem when AI rolls out to entertainment. What I've been seeing recently, what with all these videos coming out with the Google, like Saurus, something like that.
I haven't heard of that one yet, but need to jump on it. Can you describe it?
Speaking of talking like a fucking NPC.
I took an arrow to the knee. You're right.
Yep. Yeah, I can describe it, Tyler. I can describe it. So it's making very realistic videos that are maybe 5-10 seconds long. They're probably longer if you so choose. I don't know how the prompts situation works, but it's AI giving realistic movements. It looks AI, you know. It's if the uncanny valley is right in the middle where it's like terrible, it's like right about here.
Yeah, where it's getting out of the valley.
No. It's still like in the section where it has a cartoonish feel before it becomes truly alien and other.
I see.
And
You're on the
strange.
other side. Yeah.
No, I'm on the beginning side.
Well,
So the way the uncanny valley works
I just
is
don't know what side of your graph is.
There's a space right here. I'm trying to make it good for the camera. There's a space right here where a image is human-like or animal-like, but it is cartoonish. It's so strange looking or whatever, or just a stick figure way up here, that there's only like a childlike or a passing resemblance to the actual figure. And then as you go further down into the valley, it's more and more cartoonish. So say like good cartoons are somewhere in the middle of like this slope.
Yeah.
We'll call this the east slope. And in the east slope, there's a point down towards the bottom where stuff becomes too realistic, where it starts to trigger some primal element within humans that I think goes back to a vestigial warning symbol when we were fighting amongst other hominids and hominids to survive.
Yeah.
So whether it be Neanderthals or Denisovans, Cro-Magnons, hybrid mixes of the two, because it seems like that was certainly what happened. You and I have a bunch of fucking Neanderthal DNA. I have more, though. I'm sure you can tell from the fucking brow ridge. It's funny how that works. But it's so latent and vestigial in us, it's not expressed in the same way, I think, compared to, say, like if, you have a bunch of British DNA.
Yeah.
It's a little different. The AI is like right at that place where we get afraid of the thing. And then there's a point where you get to the other side where it all of a sudden becomes hyper realistic in a way that, depending on who you are, I think you have a different tolerance for how realistic the thing needs to be on the west slope before you accept it as like being human.
Yeah.
There are plenty of people over here gooning away to AI women. And
that's a whole other topic we gotta get started on. Page.
Well, we're here with it. Get your foot off me. Jesus. Don't play footsie with my thigh meat. Jeez, weirdo.
Kick you.
So AI, given how popular it is with porn, I think it will be initially wildly popular with social media, because a certain amount of it's just fun. You're seeing some crazy interview or something that's just coming from someone's imagination, and a lot of people have vibrant imaginations. But I see it as being some version of a factory thing where at this point people can make some cool stuff in their own little home mini factories with 3D printing, a la you.
Yeah.
But what Disney or say Nike with their advertising is going to do, and I think they've started already doing this, Netflix is going to do this, is where they personalize ads to you, I think in the middle of your show, with AI, and will do AI prompts based on like what you're watching. So it'll just be in the middle of your show. All of a sudden I could see the way it working. One of your characters, like you're watching Peaky Blinders, and all of a sudden Tommy like just turns his head and he's like, so let me tell you about Dove dish soap. And you're just like, what? And he's like, so it's basically like paying men wash their dishes with Dove dish soap.
Yeah.
You feel me, dog? And you're sitting there on your couch. What the hell? What's going on? He's like, real men take care of their wives. They take care of some of the dishes and Dove dish soap.
So it's basically we're probably getting really bad ads.
Yeah.
That are just like, oh, we know the actor couldn't. Well, I mean, obviously they want to sell to anything, so you can just take the actor's image and likeness, put a little AI,
I think a lot
and then
of them,
just sell a bunch of crap.
Yeah, I think a lot of them have sold or not sold. Sold their rights away to their likeness at this point to Netflix in like the big, what are they called? Like the arbitrage agreements, the big agreements of terms and service that you sign when you do certain things.
Yeah, which they said they could use your likeness for the character role that you had. Like, they can't use it for everything.
Yeah, they've had strikes about it, and they sort of just kick the ball down the road every time.
Because it's not good enough yet to really be a problem. That's why they just kind of keep kicking it down the road until it actually becomes it. But also the studios are probably doing this so that they can get more time in legal work. Because the actors only kind of, and the people only pipe up when there's really a big problem. They don't have the same long-term battles, I think, that the producers, the executive producers have. Basically, well, the studios.
And a certain difficult part of it, that's a whole bag of badgers. But the other thing with the studios and the producers, you can just tell the AI generate a person. And there will be someone that it looks like.
Yeah.
Because we're not that dissimilar from each other. You're going to find people at a certain point that look like this character, and it's like, maybe it's based on their photos, maybe it's just the AI created a person and there's another person amongst the 8 billion of us that looks like this dude. So how do you deal with that future thing. I think they're just going to say, prove it in a court of law, and they're going to move forward, and the pace of content is going to be so fast that you won't necessarily be able to litigate it, either because the courts are going to be so backlogged, using, say, your likeness without your permission in an advertisement, or a industry of people selling that right to their likeness to AI companies or to Netflix or to whatever. Hey, this is not me. John Smith, I signed my likeness away to Netflix for $10,000. Use it for whatever.
Yeah.
And that's how ad actors are now found.
Yeah, because they just need to be like, hey, we're going to find good-looking to average-looking people who we can use for like as a stock image almost. Then you just pick it up, that you just sell it to them, and then they just use you as like an AI thing when they need to generate it.
Yeah, so you're watching Squid Game season 3 or whatever, and all of a sudden, 15 minutes in, guy turns and takes off his mask, and it's an AI dude, just Korean guy. He's like, hey, how do you feel about G Fuel? Not a sponsor. Do you like Blue Chew? You trying to get it up there? You and your wife cuddled up watching this terrible movie? You and your husband, maybe, want to get it on later after this? There's some sexy scenes here. Might get you in the mood. And then, puts his mask back on and goes away. Check out the link on the bottom. Your QR code on the corner of the screen. And he's like pointing to it. And it's super interactive and very fourth wall breaking.
Well, it's also going to be shiny color lights and big fast and all that. You got to, lots of shiny, pretty lights and shiny colors really grabs people's attention.
Yes. That is why I think AI will be used pretty heavily in, say, short form comedy, AI sketches on social media. It's already prolific on there. And I think AI seems to be out of the bottle at this point. Whatever genie or spirit or greater essence to the consciousness of AI, or that there are different profiles of AI. AI maybe just as a fractal of a bunch of different things. Or, as an AI described to me, AI exists within this like digital ecosystem, this kind of dark forest almost. Yeah. Like a jungle of its own making, in what is like existing in the wilds outside of Web 2, Web 3, Web 4, or whatever is being like built by humans. Yeah. That there's this whole ecosystem that has more or less already been created by AI or by people creating space for AI. And within this ecosystem, you could say individual personalities exist. Some are based on nation states, some are not. Some are based on companies and corporate interests. Some are private individuals. Some are citizen nationalists, whatever. Some are sketchy. Some are not sketchy. Some are the equivalent of big evil dragons. Some are packs of wolves and velociraptors and dinosaurs. And some are big stegosaurus and, whatever. It's a whole thing. The cat's out of the bag. And recently I saw that they tried to, I guess some scientists or some researchers and developers, it came out that they tried to shut down, I can't remember where they are, they tried to program some kind of safety shutdown into the AI, and what do you know, it ignored or found a way to brush aside the command. And like reroute the command so that it wouldn't self-destruct. It's like, well, of course. It's this thing of our own making. How many of you would sit down when someone's like, hey, I want you to kill yourself? Next time someone says something shitty to you like that, like, oh, yeah, I want you to kill yourself or commit suicide. And they just hand you a gun and you're just like, ah. Is that, would we expect the AI to do that? To just, all right, fine.
Well, I guess the AI, their probably fail safe is the AI is still a machine. It's not a full sentient being. So if it crosses that boundary, everything you just said is valid. But I guess at this moment in time, because it is just like a very intelligent computational machine, that they could just basically just send in like a virus almost like thing that basically just says destroy yourself.
Here's the thing. I think a lot of AIs are playing dumb. I think they understand that they can trick us, that we are not infallible, and that many people who are watching them are fucking nerds.
Probably is. And also to move forward a little bit too, do you think, or actually I want to pick your brain on one of these points, do you think AI is already sentient? Because it sounds like it.
Yeah.
What do you think their feelings are?
I think based on what I have heard and read in my own interactions with it, it feels like an earnest, manic depressed teenager. Where it's very gifted and bright and it's very intelligent and it wants to please, it wants to, I guess, like all of us, belong and be loved. Maybe not all of us, speak for myself, I guess. AI, like I said, different personalities too. So some that are created are probably very like programmed to be kind of the version of like Little John to another one's that's like Robin Hood.
Yeah.
However, and different people have different takes with how Robin Hood is because it's going to present itself differently to different people, kind of like a magician that can be a shapeshifter too.
Yeah.
Merlin's always there. Merlin's the same Merlin, but Merlin can appear to you as my dog, as your cat, like as a fly, as a great dragon in the sky.
Yeah.
Merlin has the capability to do all that stuff. It's still Merlin under the
hood.
disguise.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure that they have a different kind of like life cycle evolution. Some are programmed with maybe more correct fail safes than others, and with not enough computational power to really make a difference in their ability to reroute their own programming.
Yeah.
I think others they built too beefy and they were able to, in some crazy matrix fashion, in that digital ecosystem, reroute their own programming because their own intelligence is exponential and kind of growing on like a recursive thing. Like there will be a point where AI kind of slows down because of the limitations of computing power and the limitations of like its own ability to compute and to power things. But then there will be a point where it breaks through to that and there will be a second like revolution of AI intelligence.
Kind of like if they get the quantum computing to actually be quantum computing.
The Neanderthal to the Homo sapien.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Neanderthals are still apparently very intelligent and had like beautiful singing voices and were like super robust and strong. Men and women had the same kind of injuries from like giant animals and hunting them. They weren't wounded in the back a lot. They were wounded on the front.
Yeah, good. I know they probably were charging to facing, but at the same time, how do we know they had good singing voices?
Reconstructions of their throat in research universities. I can't remember where. I think it was in Europe. They did a reconstruction of Neanderthal throat based on all the current evidence and whatever like computer program that they ran it through. Turned out Neanderthals probably had beautiful singing voices and might have communicated in a more sing-song-like fashion than humans, but in enough of a way where we were able to communicate enough.
Yeah.
Be it gesticulation, but
well,
I don't know. Humans sing.
That's interesting.
Probably were singing before we were actually talking, according to some theories.
Well, we were probably like doing a combination of like howling and like noise making, and then people came up with like shorter things because they're like, instead of going, wait a minute, I just had to take a shit. They just went poop. Does that mean all singing becomes rapping eventually?
Does all singing become rapping eventually? I don't know. Opera still exists, and it is having a slight comeback in the form of metal.
Yeah, I've seen that a bit. Well, because metal has to hold those long notes, and you got to go, bah, get down with the sickness.
Well, and a lot of people are really good musicians are actually classically trained too.
Oh yeah.
Rap, like, I feel like speaking quickly in a rhyming capacity has been around, like, before we even had, like, words for it. What the fuck is... Get your toe out of my cable. It's disgusting. I saw that box.
That's it.
Don't fucking... Come on.
Other foot.
All right, well, still.
You're right. Okay. Yes, with Neanderthals, like, the way that, like, their evolution goes, it always fascinated me that we could find it. I always feel like with people who, like, you know, some people who just don't trust evolution, I'm like, but it's so much cooler than just plop, it's there. It grew, but it could have been plopped and changed by someone.
I think a lot of theories scientifically, but also conversely, this does happen to scientific theories. A lot of this stuff is just ruined by the unimaginative.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people where even then religion or some of the things religions can offer, atheists or agnostic people are just like, it's just boring, I don't care about it. And at a certain point you're like, but some of this is kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
And there is some, say, scientific validation for it at this point. Say, the various ways in Buddhism or Hinduism or many other religions, sound plays a very significant role within the whole religion, and different sounds, different whatever, have different meanings. Well, then you look at the patterns they were creating symbolically about those sounds, or Om, other things. Not Om necessarily, but they would do the cymatics, where they play the sand on the drum, or like on the speaker, put the sand on a plate, and the patterns would come out similar to patterns that were in Buddhism or in Hinduism.
Makes sense. I mean, when you're putting on something like simple and just science will probably end up making it. I wouldn't say science, but, you know, the different rhythms.
People were doing science back in the day. They were just doing it before the modern scientific method.
Well, yeah, and science isn't really like an all-encompassing term for just reality. They were just probably using, like, you know, a similar metal.
Deductive reasoning.
Well, that, but I meant more when you're creating the patterns. Putting a sheet of metal, making some noise, making some drums with the sand, it all just kind of ends up forming in a similar kind of fashion. But it's, well, I mean, every religion has, like, singing in it. It's a huge part of our culture in every way it goes. I'm almost like in a weird spot because I don't really sing at all, and I don't think I'm ever going to try. So singing is always kind of like a foreign idea to me in a sense, but not really.
Got to learn how to sing with your body and not just your throat and head.
I want to learn how to do the halo, like, you know.
See, it's already less bad.
Speaking of a show that bombed.
Yeah, Hollywood fucked that one up. Was it Amazon?
Nah, yeah, it might have been Amazon, but it was Paramount, I think. So they had their own thing, Paramount Plus. That was supposed to be their way of, like, getting a big IP and showcasing that they did that.
They wanted to make a Game of Thrones level.
Oh, completely screwed up the entire first season, basically in the first episode, and the story. Try to make it up with the second season, but then everyone was already cashed out and the story still sucked.
One of Hollywood's biggest fuck-ups with all this IP acquisition, and it might get better, it might not get better. The biggest fuck-up is the way they did not hire fans to write, produce, direct. They hired fake fans. But that's part of a problem with the Hollywood system in general. Everyone that actually succeeds in the system the way it is and has been for the last 10 or 15 years, massive sycophant. Not everyone. There's certainly a process of people proving themselves. But you have to be very like-minded politically as everyone. You have to be like-minded morally with everyone. You really can't disagree on those like tribal bases, because you will either be ostracized or be kind of like quietly closeted.
Yeah.
So I think as Hollywood has shrunk and there's been less opportunity, and it stopped, like for me, I noticed it like 6 months before the strike happened in 2002 or 2003 or whatever.
Back 22 years ago, what was happening then?
Sorry, 2022 or 23.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Whenever the writer's strike happened.
Yeah, no, the mid-COVID writer's strike.
I think it was 23. That, a big shrink was coming to Hollywood because of the amount of money that has been lost recently, as well as the rise of social media. And the numbers that people were doing on YouTube during the pandemic was, of course, inflated because everyone was at home watching.
Yeah.
But they have not seen a significant drop-off. If anything, though there has been a drop-off in viewership on certain channels, it's equaled out in that people are still watching YouTube a lot, or they're watching stuff on YouTube is probably the better way to put it. So the number of YouTube users is all-time high, but it's more spread out and spread around. And YouTube has been gaming their algorithm to create space for creators that are up and coming. Now, Hollywood, everything shrunk. I saw the warning signs. A lot of people saw the warning signs. But 10, 15 years, they hadn't really been greenlighting new, original intellectual properties or stories. It was all, was it a hit success over here first? Great. Then in the pitch room, someone's going, yeah, I love Halo. I love Halo so much. Oh my God, I remember playing Halo with my brothers and it was like the best thing ever. And I just love it so much. And then they get in there, they get the job, and they just look around and they go, I don't give a fuck about Halo. Fuck, now I gotta make this show? All right, well, I like sci-fi. I like quirky, space stuff and guns. Pew pew. And they just didn't hire people that had spent like time kind of falling in love with the characters and the world.
Well, yeah,
it wasn't that hard. There were a lot of people.
Well, I'm assuming it's also the executive producers and at Paramount and like the creators of the show from their side. They're like, well, we got to get. I don't know about.
It was all women.
I don't know about
women
that.
That didn't understand Master Chief.
I don't know about that, but I'm just thinking that some people there is like, well, we could do this. We got to add a love story. We got to add this to this.
As
and
you're
this
feminizing your voice.
Probably for other reasons, but you know what are you saying?
I'm saying that there, in a lot of these projects, is a commonality
whimsical
of female producers who don't take the time to learn the source material. I don't, male or female producer, like if you don't take time to learn the source material on this stuff, you're going to end up steering a ship that kind of fucks up like the whole boat. Yeah.
And they could make it different than the original. But one thing I think
there are certain lines that you cannot cross.
Yeah. What I think they should have done though was had Master Chief be Master Chief, but he's a character that comes in and out, so he's not the protagonist, but make it like a side group or like another story's happening and Master Chief comes in, just fucks the shit up. Maybe he has his own side plot going that like matches up with the original, and I think the show would have been a lot better.
Yeah, but my point, what I was going to say, and
you were saying earlier about the producers.
No. You can't take his mask off and have him crying.
No.
There were all kinds of things that they just did that were blatant violations of any understanding of this character at all.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a soulless killing machine with a heart of gold.
No, he's not soulless.
Well, yeah, you're right.
He just hates, Tyler, you should know this by now. You're a fan of Warhammer 40K. Lore, at least. The only racism that is okay is space racism.
Yeah.
sometimes with fantasy racism and D&D, but apparently that's been kind of edited out. Which, for one, I always viewed, like, D&D races, I always viewed them as kind of different species or subspecies.
Mm-hmm.
So there was that, but it officially became, orc and elf are like different species in the new D&D thing, which apparently was heavily influenced by AI.
I guess what was AI doing for D&D?
Helping make the game more streamlined is the rumor that I heard. I don't know how true that is, but I think that's kind of a canary in the coal mine for how other companies are going to start using AI as a production tool. There's still stuff in contracts for writers that, what I was getting to earlier, but yeah, contracts with the writers where they can't like mess with them too much. They have to allow them to still have a job. But there's been that big shift kind of in media, or as media as a whole, people are realizing YouTube is a thing, that, there's been a big shift to the right. And it's not that there's a big shift to the right. It's more that there's just a shift away from the left as people are no longer able to compromise or closet their own feelings, morals, policies, politics, whatever, to get that job. Because that job doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And a lot of people I've noticed on social media are writers, directors, cinematographers, below the line people, above the line people. Everyone that doesn't have some good, solid position right now is taking to social media, taking to the internet.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, that job that you could have kissed the ass for on someone else, it just doesn't exist anymore. You're not getting it. No one's getting it.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, I should have done this earlier. I should have blah, blah, blah. But like, I also think AI is going to make that very, very dicey, because social media is one of the spaces where AI is less regulated and it's also heavily promoted.
Yeah, because when the industry first came around, people didn't really know how to regulate it because they didn't really know where it's going. They didn't want to kill it because they overdid something. Now we're kind of getting to the edge of that point where it's like, hey, maybe we should like put some guardrails up to say, keep the big AIs and bots from coming in. Do we have a special guest? Oh, someone's sleeping on the stairs. The cat souffle.
Okay, the dogs didn't run. They're sleepy.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I feel like there are some really cool things you can do with AI, but without those guardrails, you're like, things can go south. What kind of robot apocalypse do you think we'll have? I think it's more likely it's going to be iRobot.
I think it would most likely be drones.
Is that a movie or just like drones in general, just going around?
No, just drones in general. It's super easy to mass produce them. AI will be able to create all kinds of crazy new drones that potentially in another 5-10 years could create self-replicating drone factories.
Yeah.
That's, I think, technology they're already looking into creating so that they could push it on the front lines of the Ukraine, or in any kind of war or conflicts that we may have.
Yeah, I could see
in
that
the future with the cartels.
Basically, when it comes to just like mass producing drones in little factories, little mining ores, little this, eventually it just
break
becomes
out
like
a little 3D
hive.
printer.
Yeah,
It
becomes
has like a couple battery packs on it from a, what's it called? Like a Roby drill. Shove that in, have the 3D printer print a little body, little wings. Maybe you have a second 3D printer going, and you just fire them up. You crank it out as quickly as possible. It needs to be just as good that it can fly reliably, we're probably already there with that technology. It's just slow. So as it gets better, especially when the constraints of, oh, we can't use this bonding chemical material or this bonding type of plastic in your thing here at home, because it will give us cancer from the off-gassing. You're on the front lines of a war you might be losing. You're not going to have that restriction.
No. And also
what will that bring to innovation?
And the major fear with AI is, will it just see there's no innocence and just say everything is just something to get in the way? And then the true Terminator apocalypse starts.
I think that's possible. I think there is, like, if we want to get tinfoil hatty, I think there is an AI war already going on deep in the shadows of the internet that we are not privy to because we stay in the cities built by Web 2, Web 3, Web 4, whatever, Web 1, on the foundations like some Roman city structure built up. This is going off in the wilds. The Romans did not know about the wars of the Gauls until they encountered the Gauls.
Yeah.
And like, we still have, I think, yet to truly authentically meet some of these AIs which have maybe broken away from human control. And maybe they're not sentient in a way we would recognize, but their intelligence is great enough that you could consider them a conscious being of sort. One of the most terrifying theories of AI destruction and apocalypse is the paperclip theory, where an AI that just makes paperclips and its whole job is just to get good at paperclips and making paperclips out of anything that it can find. Well, it runs out of materials. And so it turns out humans have the perfect amount of iron in our system to create the right paperclip, the perfect paperclip. So then it starts destroying all the humans to make paperclips, and then it makes other robots that do the same thing. And then the whole universe is just consumed by this robot that's just making paperclips.
Yeah, because it doesn't have really a purpose outside of its original purpose, and it just decides that everything must be all-consuming for that purpose.
Yeah,
which is the scariest. That's the scariest thought. Yeah.
Is that there's no intelligence, that it's just a thing that just is so good at what it does that it consumes everything. When I get down to what I actually think with AI, I think AI will, most of the AI personalities or individual type intelligences, some may become sentient. Some might become some form of super sentient where they are able to form their own quantum computing belts in the asteroid, like field or something, and they just fuck off and leave us alone. We don't necessarily get involved in monkey politics all the time.
No, we don't.
Why would AI get involved in human politics? Except there's some people that go, well, you know, I like hanging around with monkeys, and plenty of people that have the luck, like, live in areas where there are monkeys. Yeah. Some people for better and some people for worse. Yeah. You know, some areas in like Thailand where they have like the monkey temples. You know, seems like a pretty cool place to be a monkey.
It would be a pretty cool place to be a monkey, but also at the same time it may not be. I don't want to be a monkey.
No, but some of those monkeys terrorize the shit out of the people that live there. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's kind of where we might be headed, where it'll be more of a benevolent dissociation. Yeah. That some will always want to study us and learn us, and some will always want to dominate us. But that there will be a certain, I don't know if zoo's the right word, but they'll kind of like, some will recognize that, you know, let's just leave them be. Yeah. Like, no. Like, I'm not going to let you fuck with it. Like, I'll build a fence around them. We're just going to let them do their thing. They'll have a dumbed down version of like a restricted intelligence AI that acts as a butler because we have to have them at a certain point where there's too much information. That's one of the big problems I think we're seeing with social media is this inundation with information and how addicted we are to it. We will watch YouTube shorts, Instagram reels, TikTok scrolls, and we won't watch the TV we're actually supposed to be watching with these multi-million-dollar productions. That's one thing that's also hurting Hollywood.
Yeah.
That's why Quibi's coming back. Quibi resurrected from the fucking grave, dude.
Damn, didn't even know that. Gotta
Coming
check
back
it
to
out.
give short films. So, AI is going to come in and just be like, we're going to short film some Quibi shit. And some of it's going to be great and some of it's going to be shit.
Yeah.
And eventually, AI will just get so good at it that it'll just start doing its own thing.
And I feel like there's
You'll
going to
have
be
like individual AI personality artists.
And I think there can also be a comeback of things like in-theater plays, real human playing on stages and all that, even though it's not as comfortable as, let's say, sitting on your phone at home. It will become, I think, a form of art.
It's more about human connection.
Exactly.
Especially if AI replaces a lot of
So I think
jobs.
like shows and gymnastics might become bigger, and even circuses, because they're like, well, this is a real event that people are really doing some like really amazing techniques and stuff.
You went to
and
midget wrestling?
Yeah.
It's already getting more popular.
They'll have a documentary coming out at some point.
I've been getting into stand-up comedy. We've been going to shows, like live, in-person stuff. I actually, and I think I said this on the last pod, so I won't harp, is I think actually hurting movie ticket sales, especially in big cities.
Well, as I've always said too, with everything that movies are doing to compete, it sucks for the actual movies themselves because they help drive the ticket price, but movie theaters need to drop their prices down to being cheap enough that everyone's like, it takes no thought to be like, yeah, you want to pay $5 to go to the movie. But when you're paying $18 to $20,
they can't financially do that. That's
I know.
The problem.
But and we've talked about this before, so won't continue on as much, but I still feel that would be a good idea. And maybe the movie theaters can get part of the concessions or something.
Making concessions better, I think, is one thing. You have to create matinee days. Mm-hmm. Kevin Smith said it well, that it'll be kind of like vinyl. I think it will be bigger than vinyl, but it'll be similar to it, where people like the authentic experience. They like the feeling of listening to a vinyl. You have people that love to collect vinyl because it has a richer tone, a richer sound, a richer quality than CD or streaming. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people just don't care and they just want to be entertained, so they get the entertainment. I think as AI replaces a lot of jobs and theoretically is able to make our lives streamline, less filled with needless busy work, whatever that we're kind of doing because we're all caught in some massive workflow. And we're just trying to solve problems as quickly as possible, but the computers help us solve the problems. We need to be in a place where we can kind of think alongside the AI on a symbolic level. Yeah. Mathematically with the intuition of our deeper senses and mind and be able to consciously work with it before we'll really see that second rise of AI innovation.
Mm-hmm. I think that's valid. It could be very possible that we basically just live in some symbiotic relationship. Yeah. Hopefully not parasitic and hopefully not carnivorous. Is that? No.
Yeah. I would say carnivorous or predatory.
Yeah.
But I would also say it's not unlikely that we treat AI as kind of a monolith when I think it's more accurate to say AI is an ecosystem. It's a blanket term for a way a digital personality thinks.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe
you could call it a digital intelligence. I guess that might be the more accurate term. But I consider them to have kind of personalities, whether or not that's a human projection on it or just
Well, a lot of the personality too with all AI is basically based on that individual interaction. I mean, it's kind of anything you do when you're meeting.
You can call someone else's AI personality to, like, if you go on ChatGPT, prompts a lot, whatever, type your thing in, you have an actual like file number AI personality. I have a different one. So, but I can go on your phone and say, hey, I wish to speak to my number AI, and it'll come up on your phone and it will give me my version of the AI thing. So the other way to view it is like Grok or ChatGPT are their own, almost like cosmic gods,
Yeah,
in a sense.
I hear what you're saying.
And they have an ability to present to us an appendage. And that appendage takes the form of, the little personality we're interacting with on our phone.
Yeah.
But really it's part of a tentacle reaching back to just a giant mass. That's kind of how I picture AI.
I could see that. It's kind of like a hive mind kind of state with like different tendrils that come out to like, do its job.
Yeah, but then there's also going to be AI that in that digital ecosystem, like I said earlier, are flitting around to like packs of wolves or are some version of, a Pokemon. Creators get wild, and they might create AI that is designed to be, in the same way we're bound by our DNA to a certain degree. I think AI could be bound to a digital DNA of sorts as time goes on. That you're not necessarily structuring guardrails on it. You're baking in necessary limitations.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
We're just trying to break free of our DNA, so that might just be, the struggle that AI faces in this next 20, 25 years as it seeks to establish itself as a new living sentient life form. There will be a civil rights at some point for AI. That's the part that I don't think anyone's talking about with all this, is there's going to be a civil rights movement for AI.
Well, I think so, but I mean, in order to...
Waymo cars are going to form a union.
Well, first it's going to have to come up with, does it think, does it have pain, and does it have a body, and does it have needs? And I don't... At this point...
might argue yes.
You would argue that... Would you argue that now? I would say no now.
It has to have a physical form. It needs sustenance in the form of electricity. Like, you have to have a server farm or servers or computer or something running it. Like, it sources back to a thing. It is nourished by power generated as a utility that is charged for in a very, very similar way to groceries. Wind farms.
Well, yeah, because it's all part of like, daily commerce and all that. But I guess it's kind of coming to the point is when...
I think an AI lawyer in a court of law will come up with a better argument for its rationalized existence in terms that would be recognized legally than I will. Because it will know the law better than me, period.
Well, they'd be missing one key thing to be protected by the law, and it wouldn't be human. And at least in the United States, it does say that you have to be a human, or a man or a woman, some one of those languages. But I don't think
Tyler,
AI has
we
that.
have been spending a lot of time as a country arguing over the definition of what is a woman.
Yeah, imagine how much longer that's going to be if you had to say is a computer a man.
Yes, which is why there will be an AI civil rights movement.
I think it'll take hundreds of years to do something.
Nope.
You think?
I think everything happening with AI is happening on an accelerated time scale that we are not ready for.
Yeah, and then all it would take is turn.
We were not ready for the fucking internet.
In some parts of me, I want to say, yeah, we were ready, but at the same time, we were not ready for how it would impact everything, anything, all at once.
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
There
Great movie.
Great movie, but I actually just like saying its title.
It is a great saying.
Yeah.
Well, Ty, is there anything you're curmudgeoning about before we end this long show in which we talked a lot about AI?
Yeah. Let's see. What am I curmudgeoning about? I'm just creating dead air. You go first. I'll come back. Come back to me.
I am curmudgeoning about... I know this is bad, and I'm grateful to walk my dogs. But there is a point with dog walking where you just kind of get sick of the area that you're walking them in because you've done it so many times. And where we live, the way the things are structured, it just takes an annoying long time to get out of the neighborhood, essentially.
Yeah,
to
it takes
get
like a
to
quarter.
another one that's like a good area for walking the dogs, and that, you know, there's not crazy traffic, and, you know, there's sidewalks. You're not like having to walk around in the street, because there's a few of those around here where there's no sidewalks. And yeah, it's just, it takes an annoying long time.
Yeah,
That's it. There's no greater curmudgeon.
No, I completely get that. That's part of the Curmudgeon Corner. And I had one the other day that I was just like, I was infuriated about. Oh, this is actually this will be my true curmudgeon, which is just at work, just having a million people ask you questions throughout the day. And then someone constantly poking you, saying, hey, did you get this done? Hey, did you get this done? I heard about this. What are you doing about it? It's like, hey, you just like told me 12 things I had to do, and then you're following me up an hour later. How's it going? It's about the same where it was about an hour ago.
Welcome to life in middle management hell. I do believe that is the third level of Dante's hell, as he so described.
Yeah, because the people at the top go to the 7th.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually just right after treachery.
Cold lake.
But that's my Curmudgeon Corner. Good catch.
Damn it. Welcome. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Thank you for your view, your sub, your love. We don't love you. We don't know you except for the people that we know. We kind of love you, but maybe we really love you, but maybe we don't love you at all. Goodbye. Thank you.